week ago, and another update.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. This is a sisterhood where we support each other, a safe space to share and inspire each other. So, welcome, all of you beautiful ladies. This morning we have Cynthia. Cynthia, do you call yourself Cynthia Jean or Cynthia Maloney? Just the name. I look at your screen and it looks different. Uh,
That's a
But
great question.
I'll
I
let
can
you
share about that.
explain that in a little bit. But your topic this morning is unlocking feminine wisdom for peaceful productivity. So, Cynthia, with that, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're so passionate about this subject. Please.
Oh, thanks for the warm welcome. Cynthia Jean is my name out in the webosphere, just to help the crazies not find Cynthia Maloney. And Cynthia Jean is a nod to my grandmother, because she really was influential in how I show up in the world today especially with unlocking feminine wisdom. I began coaching on this particular topic quite some time ago because I found that it was very important in my life to understand how my biological rhythms are affecting how I can tap into different elements of awesomeness, if you will. And I learned it from my grandma. My grandma really taught me how to listen to my body. And I started noticing rhythms that happened on a monthly basis and on an annual basis that were replicated. And then I started really making note of these assets that were available to me at different parts of the year and the month. And then I started learning about how they're also replicated on an annual basis too. So I'm going to show you all about that today. So maybe you can start thinking about your to-do list and how it is that you could reallocate some of those to-dos according to what your natural biological rhythm is helping you do. So that gives a little bit of background. You can find me, Cynthia Maloney, out like LinkedIn, because they require that you have your real name, but Cynthia Jean is how I show up. Does that help? Okay, great.
Yes, thank you. That
welcome.
explains because I keep seeing different names. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cynthia. Just leave enough time, plenty of time um, for Q&A and discussion.
You bet. I actually have connection and all kinds of things built into the hour. So if you're okay with just allowing a little bit of flow and engagement as we move along according to prompts, does that work for you, Rini?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay. Wonderful. All right, friends. Well, I just want to make sure, maybe by a wink or a thumbs up or something, Lachelle, I saw your wink, that you have the workbook. The workbook is an incredible companion, and I just want to ensure that you have that. If you don't have it, that's okay. I'm going to be sharing my screen too, but it's an extra tool that is available. It looks like this. So if you have that, just make sure that you let me know. Oh, and Lachelle's got my back. So good. Okay, thumbs up. I got that. Hi, Carol. Nice to see you. And if you feel comfortable turning on your camera, I love to see faces. I have all of you on gallery view at all times, just so I can engage with you. And if you have any question, oh, and Sandra's coming too. Oh, this is so great. Okay, well, friends, what I want to start with first. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
How are you doing?
Lachelle's hooking us up with the workbook, Unlocking Feminine Wisdom for Peaceful Productivity. And what I want to offer you is just a thought poker. What matters to us about unlocking our feminine wisdom? And maybe you don't know what that is yet, and that's okay. And so just to give you a little bit of preface here, our bodies, women's bodies especially, are a really incredible source of wisdom. And when we find the right keys, we unlock the power of our greatest strengths. And we access really amazing things like our intuition, our confidence, our compassion, that gets ignited. Our ability to access empathy gets ignited. Access to our wiser self, that's another really amazing benefit by unlocking your feminine wisdom. Trusting yourself, trusting your body, trusting that it has some knowing that is available to us. Probably even better than our brains. Probably serves us even more, and we become more expansive, more who it is that we are meant to be. And it's an incredible way to nurture ourselves and other people as well, especially other women. And I'm just curious, how most of us are experiencing the world right now. Um, like if you think about the holiday season, or even the fact that this world is changing faster than we have the opportunity to adapt. A lot of people are experiencing things like stress, overwhelm, maybe some burnout, a little bit frustrated, guarded. What is it that you are noticing you're experiencing out in the world in general? Like when you interact with the world, if you just want to drop it in the chat, what are some words that pop up for you? Maybe a little
I
uncertain,
think stress is a good word during the holiday season. We're so hectic with all the stuff going on.
right? Yeah.
And
And
for me, there's a sense of grief. I've lost, I've lost a friend recently, and it's kind of a slow process. But I think also when change, you keep trying this and trying that, and you work so hard, and you look for, oh, okay, here's where it's opening up. So they're
Mhm.
all like little deaths. So I think grief is probably an ongoing feeling in general as well.
Mm. Thanks for that share, Sandra. I was just sharing elements of grief as well, and Mo was too before you got on. And I'm just noticing we've got overwhelmed joyfulness. Yeah, that's there also. There's sparkles, and you just got to have this experience where you felt like you were in a snow globe or a Christmas card, Mo. So definitely a great way to nurture that joy within. Anxiety is coming up too. Yeah, it's just kind of a mixed bag. All these things here. And what I'm going to offer you here today is that embracing a cyclical rhythm is available in order to honor and appreciate our bodies, our biorhythms, for the amazing gifts that they are. So what we're going to learn about is that there's three elements to honoring this radiant rhythm, if you will. This monthly aspect, which we're likely all familiar with on a monthly basis. There's also an annual aspect and a lifetime aspect to these strengths and this rhythm that's available. And what I want to start with first is kind of what the norm is in our society on our ways of being. So you probably recognize this. If you want to turn to page 2 of your workbook, I'm just going to offer this here. Um, this essence, a lot of people get a lot of information just from this graphic here, that we have this judgment around how our energy has highs and lows, or how we're showing up, and we call it like, oh, I'm not at my best today. Like, can you think of a time when maybe you had low energy and so therefore you thought, oh, I'm not at my best, and maybe you had some judgment. So maybe you're here today, and because you have some grief, you might feel like you're here. And then another time where you are really productive, you might feel like you're up here. And so it's all based on productivity. It's based on doing instead of being, our opinions of ourselves. Is that an interesting kind of thing to think about? Like our best is actually every day. If you would like to take this line and just go, oh, well, this is really truly what my best looks like, because I am every day a human being. And just by being, you are worthy. But can you see how we have a lot of judgment of ourselves, and we think that we're not at our best because what it looks like fluctuates on a day-by-day basis. And so I kind of think of this as a machine, this aspect. When we pause a machine, what does it do? Stops.
Stop.
Lachelle, I saw you. Yeah, stop. Right? And when you pause a human, what happens?
You gone?
Right? I saw your lips moving, Lachelle. What did you say? I couldn't hear
I
you,
said they
but
get regenerated.
regenerated. Yes. Yeah. So this is the amazing thing about our bodies and about our biorhythms is that there's seasons of rest, seasons of pause where we regenerate. And that's pretty freaking rad. Machines don't do that. And we are not meant to be machines. We are not meant to be the exact same every single day without maintenance. Sandra, what did you say?
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness, right?
It'd be boring if we were the same every day. Every moment actually is
Right?
different for me.
Yes. And what the societal norms have told us is that we should be at the same peak performance every single day. I just look at a magazine cover. Like walk in the grocery store and look at all the titles, like how to do this and how to do that better. And likely you will not see anything about seasons of rest and renewal, except for maybe on holistic magazines or in classes like this. And really, truly, it's ancient wisdom. The earth does it. The earth rests every winter and then it renews. So if that's going on, why can't we really take that and embody that wisdom that's available for us? So
I'm just noticing your logo as well. It looks like all the stages of the moon as it goes around the unlocking feminine. On your book. So it's beautiful, really.
Nice noticing. Thanks, Sandra. Yeah, we've got the double moons. If you don't zoom in, it looks a little bit like a flower. Some people think it's a sun. So there's a little bit of mystery. I'd love to offer you just a couple questions to sit with for a second. When you're in this place of feeling like your best is different every day or having shame or blame around your energy, what is it costing you? So if you could think of yourself as a cog in a machine, the machine of the world, what is it costing you to be a cog in the machine? Like, does it cost you your joy? Does it cost you connection with other people? Does it cost you your peace?
It does. Like Sandra is talking about grief. I think that, we have choices every day to maintain or to decide how we're going to behave or how we're going to show up. But what do you do with this emotion that's kind of like real? It's there. Grief is there. What do you do with that?
That's a great question. Yeah, I could unpack that. That would take another hour.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's just opening up a whole bunch of conversations.
Rini, if you would like to invite me back on a segment on grief, I would love to have an opportunity to share about that. And what does productivity or even just being with grief look like and befriending grief? I've been working on that a lot. So what else is it costing you, friends? Go ahead and just come off mute and share, and I'll put it here on the workbook if you feel open to sharing.
I know what it used to cost me, but I really don't spend a lot of time here anymore because, like I said in the comments, it's like Don Miguel Ruiz changed my life, the 4 agreements, and always best. And always do your best. And I share this with my clients all the time, but this is a really good reminder because when you've and I still have struggles. I mean, there were incidences, let's say on my holiday that were less than optimal. My sister's like looking at me like, God bless. I cannot believe you handled that so well. And I'm like, really not my circus, not my monkeys. And so when you be able to be turning that way, it's amazing. But when I was in that place 5 years ago, when I was in, a poor emotionally poor marriage, when I was, just trying to always prove myself and always, like maybe this time I'll be loved and accepted. And it costs me joy. It costs me my self-esteem. It costs me um my ability to show up in my own gifts and talents while I'm trying to be what other people projected me to be. So, and it cost me my health at one point, so it's
And
when you
I think it's because we remember where our struggles were. That's the only way we can help others come through it, because it's
exactly.
not forgetting the struggles, it's knowing how we went through it. So
Yes, exactly. And but this is a really good practice in remembering that so that I can be, because that beginner's mind is so, when you are going through it and you've gone through you slayed the dragon, you're back in the Shire, it's
Right.
just, and you're like, okay, but you got to remember how you got there and what
It's so true.
what that dragon was. So this is bringing up a lot for me. Like, oh yeah, I got to remember, got to keep that beginner's mind, because and I haven't figured everything out yet.
Oh
And
no,
your
that's it.
self-confidence, your self-confidence too. Well, you said self-esteem. I guess that's the same thing.
Yeah, similar.
Conf
Yeah,
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 confidence, because then you feel like you're low. You're not your
yeah,
best. Carol,
yeah.
what do you think?
So I also went through a period of my time when but this was a long time ago. And
Yeah.
one of the advantages of getting older is that, we learn from our experiences. So the Asian work ethic, I think Rini and I were talking about this, and I know it's not just Asians. I know that it's all many other cultures, but it's just the Asian work ethic. It was a phrase that was coined. So for much of my life, I was driven by that, and perhaps perhaps it is fortunate that it was earlier in my 30s where I actually got really sick from just trying to do it all, be it all, and fulfill my parents' expectations, which they didn't really expect that. It was just me projecting that on
Ah,
them.
You think
our
that's the
own
culture
stories.
though? That's the culture, huh, Carol? Like we think that if we expected ourselves, but we have this standard in our head,
Yes, yes.
certain
And
work
again,
ethic.
I know that it's not, I know that it's many cultures that have this syndrome also. It's just so steeped in it. When you're steeped in your own experience,
Yeah.
and you see it around you, it just becomes how you operate. But yeah, it really took me getting to a point where I actually almost died.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And from there, I've been on a path where, and I have practices, but I love this system. I have not seen this type of graphic and put it metaphorically this way. Actually, it's more than metaphor. It's actually a real,
Mm.
but yeah, when you think of it as seasons of the year, and it's a metaphor for life, we have seasons of our lives, right? And I'm glad to be in a season where it's about renewal. So that's where I am.
I love it. I love it. Thank you all for your shares. I've got some unpacking to do on this seasonal positioning system. So if you all are okay with continuing to share in the chat, whatever it is that's on your heart or your mind around what is costing you to be a cog in the machine or emotions that might be present, I'd love to move here to the seasonal positioning system on page 4 and just reveal some assets that are part of our being simply because we are human beings. So if you're all good with that, we can move on here. And are you all with me on page 4?
Yeah,
You got that?
go,
Okay,
go,
great.
go ahead.
Wonderful. Okay. So what if there was a different way to relating to the world and being in the world that honors how we were designed? One where we honor our rhythms. One that accesses.
Is this like an awareness thing, Cynthia?
Yes, you're going to have probably some insights and some things happening here. I'm going to take you on a tour and introduce the various different seasons. And as I do this, I'm going to invite you to grab your pen, and we're going to circle a couple words that you resonate with as I take you on this tour. So what I'm going to do here is the first thing we're going to talk about is this lifetime aspect of this seasonal positioning system. So I'm going to introduce you various different, I like to call them seasons. You could call them phases. You could, I have some archetypes that are relevant to the seasons and the phases. And what it suggests is that when we are born into the spring season, just like a lot of things are born into the world. And there are various different keys that are available for each of the seasons. So the first key is play. And all of these elements, these things are available to us in this spring season of life, like collaboration and resilience and experimenting, taking risks. Can you think of anyone in your life that might be in this first quarter-ish or so of their life and go, oh, so I know I have teenagers in my house and they are definitely about taking risks, and they fall down and they get back up. And so that really, the resilience, I'm just noticing, wow.
And just a celebration for everybody. I'm on the other end. I'm coming back into that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of my freedom is coming back into the play and piss off if you don't want to hear me kind of thing. You know,
that's so great.
Yes.
That's so great.
It's yes, in your future.
This also happens on a monthly basis and an annual basis. Okay. So that's the beautiful thing about rhythms and cycles is they come back around. So I love that you shared that, Sandra. So if we're still looking at this as a lifetime perspective, there's just different things available to us because we're in this spring or maiden season. I love it. That whole maiden idea is so beautiful. And then as we shift into about the second quarter or so of our lives, we've got a different essence, a little bit more mothering, like whether we're biological mothers or not, we have this essence of mothering because we have these gifts that are being developed. We know ourselves a little bit more. And oftentimes we want to get involved in community. We have charisma. The days are long, like we want to get up early and stay up late. I remember in this summer season of my life, especially in the beginning of it, I would work all day, party in the evening, sleep a tiny bit, and get up and go and do it again the next morning. And that was just my normal way of life. I didn't need a lot of sleep. And there was a whole lot of expression. I definitely had stamina that was out the door. And I was experimenting a lot with sex. That was great. Like these were essences, things that were just naturally available to me as I shifted into that summer season of life. And what words stand out for you most for either of these here? If you can imagine yourself in the spring season or the summer season, what are some words that pop out most where you're like, oh yeah, or maybe somebody that you know that's in this these seasons of life? Just curious.
Is this like age bracket or are you talking about, I'm trying to figure out because it sounds to me like this is when you're young, you're energetic.
The springtime is about the first quarter. So if you can imagine yourself in quarters of your life, it's not necessarily a hard stop at 25 years or 20 years, but in your maiden season, it's you're more young, youthful, where you're figuring things out. And then your summer season is more like, okay, I've identified kind of who I am and how I want to play in the world. And you're giving of that essence. So that's where the key of give. So
Rini, I think you're back in there now with a new marriage.
I
see you experiencing all the same things.
There's a certain aspect of that.
Yeah, it
right.
totally is. You're
anything
exploring
that's
a whole
new
new relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it's true.
I'm going to give you this tour just as a perspective of a lifetime, and then we'll shift into how it applies to different parts of you, if that's okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so after we experiencing the kind of summer mother season of life, like the second quarter-ish, then we move into this fall season. And I will also share that transition seasons are disorienting. Sometimes when we're shifting from the one season to the next, just like when we're experiencing that on the earth too, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what clothes to wear today. I'm so annoyed. Right? That's kind of how it is when you're shifting from summer to fall, fall to winter. And that's a really great actual description of what it's like biologically as my body is shifting as well. I'm like, oh, I need a new wardrobe, not only in size, but also like the weight of the clothing. I hadn't thought about that before because my body was different in this summer season than it was in the fall season. And when you shift into this season of fall, I like to call this the wild woman. Sandra, this is where I give less Fs, right? I'm now, even though I'm an extrovert, I now have this desire to take breaks, have better boundaries. I want a calm environment. I have learned so much that people are asking me to teach it. And then I'm noticing, oh, I really would love to activate a new element of learning. So I'm learning things as I'm also teaching what I've already learned. I'm much more interested in authentic connection with people. I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to talk about like, how are you today? And have you say, I'm great. How are you? Like, even just how I opened and how I answered the question. Lachelle asked me how I was this morning. And I said, in this moment, I am okay. And like, it kind of is challenging. So that's the type of authenticity that I'm choosing to embrace and that I feel more aligned with in this fall season of my life. Then this last quarter or so, it's all about this element of rest. And with the rest element, my mom is in this last quarter of life, and it's so interesting to watch her shift and embrace this particular season because she still wants to be invited to all the things, and she still wants the option to say no. Oftentimes she says yes and says, I want to go to that thing, but I'm probably just going to watch. Like she wants to be invited to go ice skating. Is she going to ice skate? Probably not. But that's okay. Like she's still relevant. She has wisdom to share. She really loves to take naps. I love going to her house because then I'm invited to take a nap. She's much more about delegating. She'll say, oh, yeah, I used to do that thing, but so-and-so's better at that now. Can you ask them? I'm like, oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mom. She's definitely about thinking and intuition. And this is her natural way of being. It's just being intuitive and listening to what her insides say so they can come out. So this is the wise woman season of life. Okay, so now that we've unpacked these elements on a lifetime basis, you all already started recognizing how these are accessible on an annual basis. So if we wanted to look at the fact that we're moving in, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, we're moving into this season of winter. And so it makes sense why we have such a resistance to being too busy. Our society tells us go, 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 holiday this, holiday that, do all the things. And yet our body's longing for what? It's longing to clear the calendar.
True.
I don't know about you, but I cannot wait for January where people stop inviting me to things.
It's kind of a mix. You kind
Yeah.
of want to be invited, you want to party, but at the
Right.
same time, you
Like I
want to
don't want to miss
rest.
out, but at the same time, my body is like, Please say no.
Yeah.
Now, I'm also recognizing that, for example, I have a friend. I just asked her if she wanted to have coffee on a Saturday coming up here soon. And she said, well, I'm planning on going to 4 different Christmas parties that day. Clearly, she's over here in her biological annual rhythm. And so she's more excited about doing all that. I'm like, you do you, girl. I'll see you in January.
Yeah.
Now, if you also follow the rhythms of the moon, or you have a menstrual cycle that helps you navigate the ebbs and flows of your natural biological rhythm, you will notice that rest is something that maybe you naturally engage in during your menstrual cycle. Your body has wonderful things that are accessible to you during that time. It's a really great time to assess, to reflect on what has happened and what you maybe want to change for the next month or next amount of time. It's an excellent time to do some journaling and reflection because you don't really want to be around people that much, right?
Mhm.
So if you can use that as a tool to align with your to-do list and look at what's on your to-do list and think, okay, what requires some assessment and some reflection and thinking about in order to pivot? So this is where peaceful productivity comes into play. Then if you look at your to-do list the week after your period, or if you're following the moon cycle, you can look at your to-do list and go, okay, what things do I need to create? Where do I need to strategize or start connecting with other people? So how can I align my to-do list for peaceful productivity when it comes to collaborating? You see how this can start pivoting like your to-do list and like, oh, I can look at it from a little bit different lens. And the beautiful thing about this is, especially if you're an entrepreneur, is you've got an endless to-do list all the time. You got maybe your mom to-do list and your community to-do list and your business to-do list. And there's different chemical concoctions happening in your brain at various different times of the month that will help you have some pull energy rather than push energy when it comes to your to-do list. If you start honoring the fact that you've got these different things accessible to you. During your next season or next week or so of the month, you're going to notice that if your to-do list has any things where you need to give of yourself and be more extroverty and embody those types of things, that's going to be a little bit more accessible to you in this phase, this third phase. And then as you ramp down into your kind of PMS time, the week before your period, or if you're again following moon rhythms, you will notice that you naturally have a desire about once a month or so for a weekish to like a week to 10 days. This fall season is a little bit longer than some of the other seasons. To do some receiving, some nurturing of your own self or your own business or your family or friends, and maybe do some teaching. This is a really great time for cognitive retention. So it's an awesome time to learn something new, to do your reading. I noticed that during my fall season monthly, I naturally want to read books more so than in my spring and my summer. So I might read a couple pages a day during spring and summer, but during fall and winter, I can definitely read more. So I have less judgment of myself in the spring and summer around like, oh, I didn't read that book. So that kind of, I'm just trying to help you, give you some examples of how you might align your to-do list or the things that you want to do more on a monthly basis or a weekly basis and align them with these different energies. So when you think about this, if you want to flip to page 5, what we can give a moment to jot down. I'm going to play a little bit of music. Let's just sit with these questions for a second and then we'll talk about them. So what phase, season, or archetype are you most connected to at this moment in time? And maybe why? And maybe what are one or two key strengths that you want to honor or empower yourself with from this map, this seasonal positioning system? And then if you could forecast, do a little bit of visioning for yourself of what becomes possible for you by honoring these rhythms and honoring these strengths and integrating them.
Well, in my case, I'm at this stage of life. I see this as being the different stages of life where I have empty nester. I just, I got married 2 years ago, so I'm in this, like Sandra was saying, like almost like starting over, but also at this stage of life, since I don't have kids anymore, they have their own kids. I have grandkids. I have more freedom, to do. It's like, okay, reflection. As you're getting this stage of life, you're also getting older. So I don't know if you're wiser or not, but that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have more wisdom. Do you, Sandra?
I definitely have more wisdom. My stage is a little beyond yours again. I'm on my own, and my son passed away a few years ago, and my daughter would need my help more than she would be able to give me her help. So and my friends, they've either been starting to die off, or they're busy at home looking after their partners. So it's not like you can just pick up and run off. I can because I'm on my own. On the other hand, I'm thinking I need a drive to get my eyes done, because they said you need a drive home. I'm thinking I don't have anybody to call for a drive. I came up with somebody, but I feel like I might be imposing on them, or they're busy, and I know that one's looking after her husband who's dementia. So it's a whole different, my blessing is that I stay engaged with young people. You young people. I'm just active, but thank goodness. But at the end of the day, I'm still alone. So I'm thinking in my house, okay, I don't want to go to the nursing home and have another COVID where they're throwing the bodies into a room because not enough people work. I'll stay home. Thank you very much. So I'm always thinking, okay, how do I remove that door and put two other old ladies in here and a caregiver, and we all have our own little nursing home right at home, so you think differently. So it's all still wisdom and reflection. But even with my grief feeling, because I've learned so much of this other stuff that we're talking about today, I'm always second guessing myself. Sandra, are you being a sissy and running and calling it grief? You see, there's the old judgment comes back in all the time. You're always checking yourself to see, is this real? I know that the grief is there, but am I letting myself off the hook to just go on out there and be a professional executive, blah, 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 on the run again? So very much what you're talking about setting aside some work, staying with the rhythm. It's a very strange time.
Yeah, it is. Wow.
Feel disorienting, huh, Sandra?
Well, I see Lachelle being super busy all the time. What do you think of this, Lachelle? I don't know what season you are, but you're always on the run.
Yeah,
I'm in all of the seasons.
Yeah, probably different aspects of your life you're recognizing. Yeah,
exactly. At 3:00 in the afternoon, I actually have allowed, since COVID, since I get to work from home, because I just never bothered going back, even though they keep asking me to, and they haven't fired me yet. So sometimes at 3:00 I'll take a nap, or 4:00 or 5:00, and actually it's kind of awesome. And I never really thought that. I remember my grandparents taking naps, but it's interesting. Some of the words as I was writing it down, I'm like, yep, collaboration, connection, community. I'm going through all of them. Sleep, being authentic, intellectual, learn and teach, using intuition, nourishing, renewal. I wrote renewal down twice. So it's interesting. I see myself in all of them, but as I think about it, it seems like there is a cycle too. And I appreciate Cynthia introducing me to this almost a year ago, I guess it was.
Mhm.
And so I've thought about that. Like and I'm going. So it's probably I'm doing a lot of summer stuff, but I crave some of the other pieces. I crave spring, like the newness, the um creation. And I also crave the winter, the restoring and renewing. So I really appreciate this. It's a good reminder.
That's
Thanks
good.
for
Thanks
sharing.
for your share. How about you, Mo?
I'm huge on biorhythms, and time. I mean, my entire program, my entire life is based around time. Not super fixed and structured, but creating flow. We all have 24 hours in the day. What are you doing with it? And of course, health. I'm a health and wellness coach, so that's the key part of it. So I thought this is really cool because this adds another layer to structuring or giving myself some insights into my rhythms, because because I still am in the flow even though I'll be 54 on Saturday. So
Happy
that's cool.
birthday.
Like, what's that? Thank you. I mean, hopefully that'll end soon. But I have Shark Week every every time it comes out. So when you were talking, I actually, for each week, just to kind of give me some insights, deeper
Mhm.
insights into what I'm doing monthly and weekly, I thought that was a wonderful insight.
Awesome.
Because I definitely have undulations through where I'm super keen. I'm thinking at one point I was like, am I bipolar? No, I'm not bipolar. I just, but there are definitely energetic
Oh.
rhythms. I'm pretty, stout about my sleep schedule, when I eat, how I eat and all those things. But so I love this. So I'm between summer and fall. I got divorced 4 years ago. And it was this like
Mhm.
amazing kind of awakening for me and my
Yeah.
ex-husband. And it's just, I feel so, I'm teaching and learning. That's a big one for me. I have no problem taking breaks. I'm going to have a nap right after this because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night.
Yeah.
Um,
Same,
and
same.
in creating, what's that?
Same.
Yeah. And creating a calm environment, just really like, because I have a teenager, so I'm still in that mom giving stage. And of course, these are apply to various parts of our lives, but those predominant energies. So it's exciting. I think the summer to fall. And then just having been with my mom, who's 89, and my mother-in-law, she's still my mother-in-law, who's 84 or 83 on Christmas Eve. Like, so it's like seeing that stage where in my mother-in-law, she's like sharp as a tack and she just doesn't give a fiddler's fart, as she would say. And I don't, so I want to draw on that. So I see how we can draw from these different energies. But I just love the idea of it being monthly and being able to kind of like, okay, this week I'm going to work on this. This week I'm going to do content creation. So I think it gives but while also honoring your natural rhythms and energetic flow. So this speaks to me
Thank
wonderfully.
you
This
for
is
your
great.
share. That's awesome. Tamara, good to see you. What are your thoughts?
Well, I love this. I was thinking that I am in between the fall and winter. I'm pretty proud of myself because I've learned to delegate a lot of things. So that was a big chore for me, being as we were talking about at the beginning, where we have, as women, we have this innate tendency to just take control of everything because it makes it move so much more smoothly, and we work like workhorses until we can't anymore and we just die.
True, so true.
So yeah, so it's for me to be able to delegate some of the things and then be in a way that is received. It's not a delegation of do this or I'm going to kill you. It's more of a different way of speaking that
Like an
allows people to come
invitation.
into your space and do it.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Carol, and then we'll go to Loveland and Jane. So Carol, go ahead. You're muted, Carol.
All right, here it is. I this is a little it's a little I see that I'm in all of it too.
Mhm.
Probably mostly receiving because I still do have a tendency to do too much, so I really need to receive and reset. Yeah, so for me to balance myself, I have to focus on receiving and resetting. Um, and that is probably more naturally where I should be. But I still probably plan too much play. And but I certainly enjoy the summer. I'm still mothering my son, even though he's 37, uh, because he's 37. Um, they're on a later cycle because of how challenging it is for a young person to make it in this world, especially San Diego. So that's where I see myself. I see myself that I can focus more on receiving and resetting in order to balance my tendency to want to hang out in the spring and summer.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. I think women tends to want to do things. We think we need to do it, like it's our job to do everything.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
thank you, Carol. Love Lynn, are you able to speak or are you working?
No, she
Otherwise,
said
maybe
she's lost her voice, so she's
okay,
wanting to look for a balance in what she does. I just don't know when to stop. It's what she shared in the chat. And I think that's
okay, sounds
definitely
good.
a challenge for just women in general, because we like to fulfill needs.
Yes, we have this tendency to
Mhm.
think that we're
Nurturers.
responsible for everything. Jane, are you able to speak, Jane? Welcome. Jane?
Jane is driving right now, but she only sent
Okay.
it to me. So
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
All
Okay.
right. Well,
I
Give
don't
it
think
back
friends,
to you, Cynthia.
okay. So I do this workshop for groups, and you'll see page 6 is not relevant to us today because we don't need to go into a breakout room. We are one giant breakout room. So we're gonna continue on. And what I'd like to invite you into is just a little bit of space of reflection through a survey. And it's a really short survey. And what this survey does for me is helps me bring relevant information to the world. And at the end, there's a gift for you. So if you're kind of wondering, well, what season am I actually in? You can take my seasonal assessment and it will help you identify what season you're likely in right now. And then you'll receive a series of emails. Say that your results are you're in the fall season right now, most likely. Then you'll receive an email that has a recipe of what type of foods to eat for your fall that's going to be best. It's going to give you a tip, maybe a pitfall, and some other helpful tools. And then the next week, when you're shifting into the next season, you'll get some wonderful goodies, another recipe and such. Um, so you'll get to access that. I placed the survey link in the chat here. Another really wonderful benefit to the survey is it helps me and it helps you recognize, like, what did I just experience? Because we don't learn by experiencing, we learn by reflecting on our experience. So I'm going to cue up some music here. It's probably going to take you 2 minutes max. And in the spirit of
Well,
reciprocity.
you're wanting us to do this survey right now? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
it's really quick, and I just want to make sure that you access the freebie.
Where's the link?
I just placed it in the chat. Are you able to see the chat?
I'm seeing the chat, but let's see.
Yeah, you just click on it and it's in there.
And
It's
it's
asking
also
about the workbook. That was the last message. Oh, never mind. I need to scroll down.
okay. Another way that you can access it is on page 8. If you want to grab your phone, you can scan it. Scan the QR code. couple different ways. Can you hear the music? No music.
No,
Let's fix that.
for some reason I can't seems to open the link. It keeps asking me if I want this to change my. I'm gonna do this later, Cynthia.
Okay, no problem.
And you won't be upset if I start getting a bunch of emails, then I eventually say, okay, just unsubscribe me.
Oh,
Okay.
if you use this, you'll just get one email a week
Yeah,
for 4
okay.
weeks, and that's it.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because, you know, you get swamped and then you feel badly if you go off the list. But
Oh no,
have to do something about it
You-
sometimes.
you are. I know my email box.
That's my old society thing, isn't it? Today, people don't have to delete.
Yes. And then we'll wrap up with a couple questions once you are complete there. So just let me know. Maybe drop an emoji in the chat when you've got your survey completed. We'll close with heart. Always close with heart.
Was it supposed to ask what season I'm in or no?
No, you'll get a gift at the end, I believe, to access your seasonal assessment. Is that right? Is it not giving you that?
I just got, it looked like the maybe I missed something.
That's okay. I'll get you that gift. No problem. Luckily, we're connected on Facebook too. So if the system doesn't work, then I'll get you your goodies.
I
You
was
have
like,
my contact info, Cynthia.
Yes, and oh, I see something else. I'll tell you in a second. Are you all done with the survey, Mo?
mm-hmm.
Okay, great. How you doing, Tamara? Okay.
So I did
thanks, Carol.
I did the survey, but I didn't get a gift at the end.
Oh, okay. Thanks for sharing.
Unless it sent it to me in the email.
And
I'm on
when
my
I-
phone, so I can't access that.
Okay.
And when I keep clicking the bonus, I keep going to the season PDF.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that information, friends. I'll get you your assessment. Because it's fun.
I like to know when there's glitches. Because when no one says anything, I'm like, I didn't know.
Right?
That's how we learn. Feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Live
Feedback-
feedback is always best. This is partially why I do the survey live, so I can hear people if they're having difficulty accessing the things I want them to get.
Makes sense.
Feedback from friendly friends is much better than other people.
Right.
What the heck?
Okay. Well, I would love to just give you a space to close with heart here. And so the question is twofold. If you could just boil down, maybe in a sentence, what's your biggest takeaway, inspiration, or appreciation from today? So that's one thing. And then the second thing, what's one thing that you want to apply? So this will also help you cognitively seal what it is your experience was, so that way you can access it later. If we're going to spend an hour together, you probably want to remember something later, right? And this is just a way to help our brains remember what it is we experienced. So tapping further into my rhythms was Powerful. Thank you. Thank you.
Michelle have to leave.
Hey.
I say for me, it's just to create an awareness that we have different season in life, and that to be mindful of the different period you're in, you know, where you're in.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rini.
For me, it's the neatness of seeing how it all overlaps, you know, the annual, the monthly, the lifetime, and we're in all of those seasons all the time in some fashion. And so I finished mine. Is the gift the download your seasonal positioning system thingy, or I don't know.
Apparently, yes. But I will also get you gals. Oh, you know what? Here. On page 9 of your workbook, what I intended was with the survey, the last thing that you click on would give you the seasonal assessment. And apparently that was not what happened. So
Well, maybe it goes to the email. I didn't check the email. I was just curious because I don't know if we're connected or not. We possibly are.
my intention was for you to be able to get access to the seasonal assessment through the survey. I don't think that was effective. So what you can do is go to page 9 of your workbook and you can access it there.
Is that where it says you are likely in your summer season? That's me.
Let's see here.
Oh, I see. So it's not something that you fill out and send back to you. It's just a PDF with the assessment for us, our own personal thing.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
So what I'm saying
New
is
stuff here.
the assessment did not, or the survey, I intended for it to link you to an assessment. It did not. It gave you a PDF instead.
Okay. Okay.
So if you would like to go and get the assessment, I'm going to drop a link in the chat and also share it with you all in our Facebook chat. So, or if you'd like to go to page 9, which I'm sharing, can you see my workbook, page 9?
Yeah, it's very, very full with all of your shift from reactivity to creativity through the internet to bring consciousness. I've got mine slid off to the side here a bit.
Is that so? That's what to expect. All right. I'll go into the Facebook group and do it on the computer because it's hard to see on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just post it on the Facebook group. That way, we get the
I
same thing.
will. I
Okay.
promise.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. This is so helpful to go through this, to know that there are different seasons and it's not all our fault.
Right.
Just kidding.
There's things happening in the background.
You know
So,
what? One of the things I said was it's nice to know that we're exactly where we need to be at any season of our life.
Mhm,
You know, it's so refreshing to
Very
know
true.
that we're not screwing up. So
very
you.
true.
I would love to invite you to this aspect, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you have a business, to look at the different seasons as 1 year in your business also. So your first season of your business is the spring season, and then the second year is your summer. And so you can also glean a lot. I do some business coaching for entrepreneurs around that, and it's very enlightening, revealing, if you will. Like, oh, I need to not have judgment, that maybe there needs to be some rest and renewal in there so that way I can think about how my business is going and how I want it to go in the future. So
Hmm.
you could look at it that way too, or anything that's new in your life. Whenever you start something new, you start it in the spring-ish, like not the actual like annual season, but the newness is that spring energy. So you can take it and run with it there too. Like, oh, a relationship, a marriage, dating. You've got that spring energy right at the beginning, right? And then you move into the
Interesting.
summer. Yeah. Yeah. It's a really, really cool tool. I've received a lot of feedback from people that use it in so many different ways. It's great. So I appreciate you ladies showing up here on a weekly basis. It's so wonderful to converge with you in this space and just offer maybe some new perspectives or insights of how you might unlock your feminine wisdom or anything else that might show up, because it's always such a lovely, nurturing space. Thanks for
Thank
holding
you,
space for each
Cynthia.
other. You're so welcome.
Really appreciate this, and I will connect with you regarding the brief presentation
Great.
for the
Yeah.
future. But this is so wonderful. I really appreciate it. Next week, Joel Bruce will be talking. This is about she's a health coach. Her topic is My Journey, My Faith, Growth, and Balance. Kick off the new year with Healthier You. So it would be a great topic. Hope all of you can join next week. With that, any other last minute thing anyone want to say before we part? But appreciate you, Cynthia. Great presentation.
Thanks for allowing me to share my heart.
I have a question. I
Okay.
don't know if you guys saw. Sorry, my dogs are barking. So a bird. This is like the third time in like 2 weeks that a bird is slammed into my window, and I'm like, what does that mean spiritually?
I have no idea.
I looked it up.
Oh, did you?
Because that's what I do. It
Ask
says,
ChatGPT. Oh no,
it
go ahead.
says, some believe that a bird flying into your window is a sign to be more proactive in bringing positivity into your life. It could also be a reminder to trust your intuition and stop and take stock before making a final decision.
Wow.
Relevant to
I
the
know.
seasonal.
I
Thank
love looking that
you.
stuff up. I looked it up immediately, but I wanted to come back and focus. So.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Interesting.
that.
I know. I'm an animal person, so I get it.
Me too, as you can tell.
I mean, I don't have animals, but I
That's
think
interesting. Thank you again, everyone, for your participation and contribution, and Cynthia for taking the time to do this for us.
Yeah,
Thank you,
always.
everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
weekend. See you
Bye.
next
Bye,
week.
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye. Bye.